In this module, you will learn about network protocols, TCP/IP, FTP, HTTP, PPP, email protocols, SMTP, POP3, remote access protocol, Telnet, chat and VOIP protocol. Welcome to this module on network protocols. Information technology, the set of rules specially framed for two or more machines to communicate with each other, is called a protocol. These are the standards which allow the computers to communicate and facilitate a computer to identify any other computer on the network. It defines what form the data should take in the transit and how this information is processed once the final destination is reached. Thus, each time you want to perform a task, you will require a protocol. The task may be transferring data, taking a printout using the network printer, or accessing the central database. Even though each network protocol is different, the physical cabling shared is the same. Thus, this common way of accessing the physical network enables multiple protocols to exist together on a network media and facilitates the builder of a network to make use of a common hardware for different protocols. This concept is called protocol independence. Let us now learn about some of the important protocols being used. The first is Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, or TCP/IP. These two protocols together form the backbone protocols of the Internet and are used together. You can use these protocols also for private networks, such as intranets and extranets. When you get a direct access to the Internet, then you will find that your computer is provided with a copy of the TCP and IP program. There are two major components of TCP/IP. They are TCP and IP. The Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, segregates the data into packets so that it can be handled easily and effectively by the network. A particular message or file is assembled into smaller packets which are transmitted over the Internet with the help of this TCP. When all the packets arrive at the destination computer, the TCP verifies them and puts them together again in appropriate order. There is always a possibility that data can be lost in the intermediate network. Therefore, TCP helps detect errors or lost data to ensure retransmission till the correct data is received in its entirety. The other protocol, that is, the Internet Protocol, or IP, looks after the address part of each packet so that it reaches to the right destination. It provides a unique address called IP address to each data packet. This address is checked by each gateway computer on the network to see where the message should be forwarded. Even in those cases where some packets which belong to the message are routed differently when compared with others, they are again put together at the destination. A node or host connection on an IP network is identified by a unique identifier, that is, the IP address. An IP address is a 32-bit binary number which is represented as 4 decimal values, with each representing 8 bits within the range of 0 to 255 and separated by decimal points. This is called a dotted decimal notation. An example of an IP address is shown on the screen. Different organizations are assigned ranges of numbers by the Internet authorities. Then groups of the numbers are given to departments by their organizations. IP works on gateway machines which move data from department to organization to region and then around the world. The TCP/IP works on client-server mode of communication, in which a request is made by the client or the user of the computer. With this, TCP/IP makes use of the client or server in which a computer user or a client makes a request, and the requested service, such as sending a web page, is provided by the server. Another important aspect you need to know is that TCP/IP is basically a point-to-point transmission of data. That is, every communication happens from one computer to another computer in the network. TCP/IP and other higher-level applications which use it together are considered to be stateless. From the client is taken as a new request not related to any previous one. Until the entire message or all packets in a message have been delivered, the connection between the two computers remains in proper condition. But after that, the path for transmission is freely available. Thus, there is no need to have a dedicated connection, as just you need to have in case of a phone conversations for the entire call duration. This ensures that the network paths are freely available for everyone to use. Let us now learn about File Transfer Protocol, or FTP. FTP is one of the oldest and simplest protocols which is designed in order to transfer any type of files, that is, ASCII or binary files, from one system to another on the Internet. FTP is an application protocol which uses the TCP/IP protocols of the Internet. This FTP is based on client-server principle. The file transfer gets initiated when the FTP command with any remote address is given. In any FTP interface, the FTP server can be located either by its IP address, which looks like 192.168.0.2, or by its host name such as ftp.about.com. It is an efficient mode to send and receive files to or from a remote host. An FTP creates two connections between the hosts. One connection supports data transfer and the other controls information. During the entire interactive FTP session, the control connection remains connected, whereas the data connection is opened and closed for each file transfer. The FTP can be used with a simple command from the Windows MS-DOS prompt window, or with a commercial program which provides a graphical user interface. You can even make FTP requests through your web browser and download programs. And not just that, you can delete, rename, move, or copy files at a server by logging on to an FTP server. However, with the help of anonymous FTP, publicly available files are easily accessed. In such cases, there is no need to sign in to the FTP server formally to make a file transfer, but you may be simply asked to press. But in case you are using a private FTP server, you will be asked to sign in with a username and password in order to begin the exchange of data. As part of the suite of programs that come with TCP/IP, basic FTP is generally offered, but any FTP client program which has a graphical user interface must be downloaded from the company which makes it. Both ASCII and binary files can be transferred by setting the mode in the FTP client. In case you try to transfer a binary file, such as a program or music file, when it is in text mode, the transferred file will not be suitable for use anymore. Let us now learn about HyperText Transfer Protocol or HTTP. As the name suggests, it is this protocol that is used for transferring hypertext, that is, text, graphic, image, sound, and video from one computer to the other, and is especially used on the World Wide Web. This is a TCP IP-based communication protocol which provides a standard for web browsers and servers to communicate. Hypertext is specially coded using a standard coding language called Hypertext Markup Language or HTML. This helps in creating hyperlinks and thus controls the working of World Wide Web. It also helps in formatting and displaying of web. Often these hyperlinks can be in different forms like text, graphic, image, sound, or video and are helpful to connect the user to any other file. The HTTP protocol defines the method in which the messages are formatted and transmitted, and also the actions to be taken by web servers in response to various commands. For instance, when a URL is entered in your computer, it actually sends a HTTP command to the server and in turn directs it to fetch and transmit the web page you requested for. You need to know that HTTP works depending on client-server principle. The communication between the host and the client happens with the help of a request or response pair. The client computer is generally the browser which initiates the request, and host is the server which responds to the request. Besides this, the resource which the client has requested for will be identified by HTTP, which in turn informs the server about the action it has to take. When the hypertext link is clicked by the user, the client program on their computer uses HTTP to contact the server, identify the resource, and ask the server to respond with an action. The request is accepted by the server, and it then uses HTTP to respond to perform the action. Originally, HTTP has been designed for using in the web, but due to increase in object-oriented applications, it is being used in a much more general way. There are three important features of HTTP. The first is that it is connectionless. One request is made, the client disconnects from the server and waits for a response. In order to process the request, the connection between the server and the client has to be established again. The second feature is that HTTP is media independent. That is, any type of data, whether it is in the form of text, images, sound, video, or any other form, can be sent by HTTP so long as the client and server are aware of the methods to handle the data content. Third feature of HTTP is that it is stateless. It is said so because the server and the client are aware of each other only during a request. After that, they get disconnected. Hence, the information between different requests across the web pages cannot be retained either by the client or the browser. Let us now learn about the point-to-point protocol or PPP. This protocol is used for communication with the help of a serial interface, often a personal computer, which is connected by a phone line to a server. For instance, an Internet Service Provider or ISP may provide the user with a PPP connection so that its server can respond to the user's requests, pass them on to the Internet, and forward the Internet responses back to the user. The PPP was actually designed to enable communication between two systems with the help of telephone lines. This is because it supports transmission of network packets over a serial point-to-point link. This is sometimes considered a member of the TCP/IP suite of protocols. Fundamentally, it encapsulates and packages packets of the user's computer into PPP frames and then forwards them to the server through serial transmission lines like telephone lines, ISDN, etc. This defines the format of the frame to be exchanged between devices on one or multiple links and also defines the authenticity of the two devices. And it supports various authentication schemes like Password Authentication Protocol or PAP and Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol or CHAP. SMTP is a dependable protocol which can be easily set up. With this protocol, the messages are received by the respective recipients. However, in case the message could not be delivered, an error message explaining the reason can be received. SMTP simplifies the communication of email messages between servers. It enables the server to segregate the different parts of a message into categories so that the other server can understand. Any email message has a sender, a recipient, or sometimes multiple recipients, a message body, and usually a title heading. Let us now learn about email protocols. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or SMTP, is a type of email protocol which facilitates transmission of email over the Internet. Most email software is architected in such a way that it uses SMTP for the purpose of communication while sending emails. It works only for outgoing messages. Thus, when a user has sent, the Internet Service Provider's SMTP server address should be given. The mail transfer is actually done with the help of Message Transfer Agents or MTAs. Thus, the client computer must have a client MTA and the server must have a server MTA. SMTP basically defines the MTA client and the server on the Internet. When a message is sent on the Internet, it is converted into strings of text. This text is separated by code words or numbers, which identify the objective of each part of an email. These codes are provided by SMTP and can be interpreted by an email server software specifically. The other objective of SMTP is to set up rules of communication between servers. Every server identifies itself in its own way, has a way to define the mode of communication that they will follow, checks for errors, and handles them. In a normal SMTP transaction, a server will recognize itself and the kind of operation it is trying to perform is announced. The operation is authorized by the other server and will be sent. If there is some problem in the recipient's address or if there is some other problem, the receiving server would reply with some error message. However, there is a major disadvantage with SMTP, that it is comparatively easier to send a message with a false or fake sender address. This results in spreading many email-based viruses. With this, someone may receive a message thinking that it has been sent to a friend of his, actually when an unknown person is sending it. Even though effort is being put in to overcome this disadvantage, it is still causing some problems. These days you find that most servers actually use an upgraded version of SMTP protocol, which is called ESMTP, or Extended Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. The objective of this is to facilitate transmission of multimedia through email. That is, when you send a picture or music file through your email program, ESMTP communication codes are used to identify the kind of data being transferred. Similarly, Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension, which is a supplementary protocol enables us to send non-ASCII data through SMTP. However, you have to note that MIME is not a protocol and cannot replace SMTP. Let us now learn about Post Office Protocol 3 or POP3. This is the third version of a widespread method. This receives holds email for an individual till they do not pick it up. The disadvantage with SMTP is that if the destination computer is not online, mails cannot be received. Thus, the mail will be received by the SMTP on behalf of every host, and the respective host then interacts with the SMTP server to retrieve messages by using a client-server protocol called POP3. If an email program is configured properly to work with the protocol, then POP3 makes it easy for anyone to check their email. POP3 is among most mail servers because it is very simple, highly successful, and with minimum errors. And another important aspect is that it can work with any email program as long as it is configured to host the protocol. Most popularly known email programs like Microsoft Outlook are developed in such a way that they would work with POP3. Each POP3 mail server has a different address, and it is usually offered to an individual by his or her web hosting company. To ensure that the program can connect effectively with the protocol, the address must be entered into the email program. The individuals receiving POP3 email will have to feed in their username and password so that they can successfully receive email. Let us now learn about a remote access net. This is the principal internet protocol which helps to develop a link or connection with a remote machine. It enables you to connect to remote computers over a TCP/IP network just like the internet. These remote computers are also called remote hosts. As soon as a connection to the remote host is established by your Telnet client, your client becomes a virtual terminal, enabling you to communicate with the remote host from your computer with all those privileges you have been granted to the specific application and data on that host computer. Telnet clients are available for all major operating systems like Mac OS X, Windows, Unix, and Linux. In order to use these clients, all you have to do is go to their respective command lines and then enter Telnet host, where host is the name of the remote computer to which you want to connect. In most of the cases, you should have an account on that system. However, you need not have an account in order to log in as guest or public. Telnet is often used by program developers and all those who require to use specific applications or data located at a particular host computer. It gives you the scope to be on one computer system and work on another, which may be present anywhere on the globe. Telnet offers a connection which is error-free and is always faster than the latest conventional modems. Let us now learn about chat protocols. Chatting is informal communication over the internet. Chatting over internet can be done with the help of chat program, a software. Some most commonly used chat programs are AOL Instant Messenger, Campfire, Internet Messenger, MSN Messenger, etc. You can chat only if you have an account on a chatting program. A phone call is a voice-based chat, whereas online chat is textual conversation. Another protocol called Internet Relay Chat or IRC, is also used for chatting. It offers a scope to chat between a group or between two individuals. It was developed by Jarkko Oikarinen in Finland in the late 1980s and is based on client or server model. The messages to and from IRC server are sent and received by IRC. The messages are transported by the IRC server from one client to another. The IRC server is connected to several other servers to form an IRC network. The IRC server uses unique nickname to recognize every user. A unique channel is assigned to each user in case multiple discussions are taking place. Let us now learn about VOIP, or Voice over Internet Protocol. This protocol uses packet-switched and not public-switched telephone network and allows the voice transfer. With the help of VOIP software, you can make phone calls using standard internet connection. In this method of making phone calls, you do not make use of the services of a telecommunication company, and hence it is much cheaper. There are three different methods of VOIP service in common use today. Let us now learn about them. The first method is ATA, which stands for Analog Telephone Adapter. This is used to connect the telephone device to the computer. It takes the analog signals from the phone and converts them to digital signals, which are then transmitted over the internet. However, some providers are bundling ATAs with their service and offering it free of cost. The second method is through IP phones, which appear much like an ordinary telephone or cordless phone. They are connected directly to the router or the LAN. These phones have all the required hardware and software right on board, so that they can carry on the IP call. These phones are sometimes called VOIP telephones, SIP phones, or soft phones. The last method is computer-to-computer service. This is the easiest and simplest method of using VOIP. The basic hardware needed for this is a computer, internet, speakers, and a microphone. In case of the computer-to-computer VOIP method, the only aspect which involves cost is the monthly ISP fee. In this module, you have learnt that a protocol is a special set of rules specially framed for two or more machines to communicate with each other. These are the standards which allow the computers to communicate and facilitate a computer to identify any other computer on the network. Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol are two important protocols which form the backbone of the Internet and are used here. The Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, segregates the data into packets so that it can be handled easily and effectively by the network. The Internet Protocol, or IP, looks after the address part of each packet so that it reaches to the right destination. It provides a unique address called IP address to each data packet. FTP is one of the oldest and simplest protocols which is designed in order to transfer any type of files like ASCII or binary files from one system to another on the internet. FTP is an application protocol which uses the TCP IP protocols of the internet. This is based on client-server principle. The file transfer gets initiated when the FTP command with any remote address is given. HyperText Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, is used for transferring hypertext such as text, graphic, image, sound, video, etc. from one computer to the other and is especially used on the World Wide Web. HTTP works depending on client-server principle. The communication between the host and the client happens with the help of a request or response pair. Originally, HTTP has been designed for using in the web, but due to increase in object-oriented applications, it is being used in a much more general way. Point-to-point protocol or PPP is used for communication between two computers with the help of a serial interface, often a personal computer, which is connected by a phone line to a server. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol or SMTP is a type of email protocol which facilitates transmission of email over the internet. Major disadvantage with SMTP that it is comparatively easier to send a message with a false or fake sender address. Remote Access Protocol, Telnet, is the principal internet protocol which helps to develop a link or connection with a remote machine. It enables you to connect to remote computers over a TCP/IP network just like the internet. These remote computers are also called remote hosts. The over Internet Protocol uses packet-switched and not public-switched telephone network and allows the voice transfer.